What you're about to experience are my opinions and truths. I'm suggesting they're possibilities for you to consider, in which you can then come up with your own logical conclusions.
The tape is broken, and so is the record athletes have long been dreaming about. But at first, Bannister knows little about it. He stumbles into the arms of his coach, completely exhausted by his magnificent effort. And that's how Roger Bannister, the 25-year-old medical student, became the first man in the world to run a mile in under 4 minutes. 3 minutes, 59.4 seconds, to be exact. And only a small crowd saw him do it. Bannister's first thought on recovering was to thank the people who had made his record possible, the groundsmen at the Iffley Road track among them.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, fellow decoders around the world, another scripted reality. This is number 20. My name is Logan. Decode Your Reality. I'm going to be your tour guide for this session, showing you another layer of how this reality is predestined. It is scripted. Mankind is not in control of this. No matter how high up they think they are in the totem pole, they are still being utilized by something outside of this reality. Been showing this over and over. A lot of you great decoders been showing this over and over. Scripted reality 20. And it was, of course, as fate would have it, it was on running. The number 20 is a number of graduation. What I have listed here is the mighty Helios. Of course, AI doesn't do the best of jobs showing the zodiac signs. There's more than 12 there, but you get the idea. Taking the chariots across the sky, the sun through each zodiac sign, through each celestial, gathering the energies to as above, so below this reality. And I have a big sneaker with a gold wing on there because a lot of this scripted reality is all about running. And of course, we have Mercury in there, the planet of commerce, running, movement. So let's jump into this, ladies and gentlemen, and briefly talk about the man that you saw on the television who broke the mile in 1954 in under 4 minutes, Roger Bannister. Now, I got this idea a long time ago when I was studying under Bob Proctor and Born Rich. So if you've seen his seminar that you can still get for free on YouTube, well, you hear him talk about Roger Bannister, setting milestones for people so that people can believe that it can be done. And this guy did it. Said the mile couldn't be done under 4 minutes. He broke the record. He was the first guy to do it. Okay, so if you study him here, read all about it. And what I'm going to ask all of you that still think that man has some control in this reality, well, if you think sports is scripted, which I would think at this point you believe that, well, how would you fix or rig running? Now, yeah, there's guys you can say, well, they stopped. They let the guy run past him. Yeah, but you see, Roger Bannister was solely responsible to drive through that finish line and create the marker under 4 minutes. There's nothing standing. There's no help. Yeah, you could say, oh, he had sport enhancing products, but that's besides the point. He had to do it all by himself. And because he had to do it all by himself, there was no mirrors or magnets or any funky stuff going on, no cork bats. There was nothing helping this guy, and there was no referees, there was nothing fixing, there was no time clocks in the sense of like you got to do it in this and that. No, he had to beat a mile in under 4 minutes, and this guy did it. And it's so fascinating because he passed away at the age of 88, and 88 is the orbital period of Mercury. Okay, Mercury. And we get into running. So after he did it, many months later, several other people started to do it. And what I got from the research is now at this current stage in 2024, shooting this video, over 1,600 people have ran the mile in under 4 minutes. It is actually the standard to run. The standard has become standardized. Was a big deal back then. Now it's just like, okay, well, the standard is to run in under 4 minutes. But this guy started it. I'm going to show you he was being used to do it. And he was in neuroscience as well. Okay, this guy was in neuroscience. If you go read about him and what he was doing, besides running and all that kind of stuff, okay, he was in neuroscience. I'm going to show you why that is. So let's start off with this. I only have a few things. I have some astrological positions. I want to show you the a lot of people have been asking me, can you show more astrology? So yes, I'm going to be doing that. But I wanted to start off with this. I caught this while watching the video again and again of him finishing the race, running the race. And this was one of the scenes off of BBC of him like barely, collapsing at the end, not knowing that he beat the world record at that point. But what I noticed right off the bat was the logo on his jersey. A. And I knew that was 111. And I knew that it was tied to the magic square of the sun, the life giver. And the sun, as it transits around, you got to take into consideration when the sun goes around the zodiac signs, well, the sun, it takes its energy, it harvests it through these zodiac signs, whatever celestials are there, and as above, so below. And the energy gets transferred in the earthly realms. As above, so below. That's how this whole system works. So the sun is kind of the bridge to everything, along with the moon, and then all the other celestials play their part. Now, I want you to consider, the magic square of the sun only has 36 digits. 36. And each row adds up to 111, which gives you 666. But the 36 is a big marker. Jesus Christ equals 36. The word operating as an operating system equals 36. This is a really, really big deal tied to the magic square of the sun. It's tied to his jersey. So when you go read about this guy and him running down here, you'll see that it was right here. The British AAA is what they call it. It's the UK Athletics, but it was the AAA in 1954. Okay? So that's the 111, and it's tied to the sun. Now, those that put this jersey on together, were they playing tribute to it? Maybe. People have, but not fudging the astrological chart, not fudging the time clock. He had to do it all by himself to beat that mile in under 4 minutes, and that's what we're going to show. But before we do that, ladies and gentlemen, here is the life path, the numerology of that day. Now, I'm using the pre-Julian numerology calendar, or the pre-Julian calendar, Coptic, Egyptian, whatever. Now, remember that in Gregorian and Julian, the month of March is the third month, but we know that the month of March is the spring equinox, and therefore it was month number 1. So when you go prior to the Gregorian and Julian calendar, the month of May becomes the third month. So this was on May 6th, so it would become 3 plus 6, which matches that 36. And you get the 19 and the 54, and that gives us the number 82. Now that can be tied to lead and Saturn, and he broke a time barrier. 82 is lead on the periodic table, and he broke the time. He broke the record that was once held, and it was through time. And the 82 is 8 plus 2, and that's the 1. And the 82 is also tied to Krypton. Krypton having one of these isotope 82, and 36 is the protons, and it's the last number of the magic square of the sun. Krypton being tied to Kryptos, Crypto. It's also Superman with the big S on its chest, tied to the sun. See how this all connected? Sun, the sun, the sun. And then all the zodiac beyond that. Okay? But it's a 1. It leads to a life path number 1 for this day. So this day was a leadership day. It was a day to take charge and to lead the way. And that's exactly what Roger Bannister did. So this is what the zodiac signs looked like. This is what the Vedic sidereal, I am using Vedic sidereal because Vedic sidereal is the true map of the stars. Tropical is based on the season positions. While we don't live through seasons, we live through fixed positions of the stars. This is why I favor Vedic sidereal. And this is what we're going to base everything off of. So I got a lot going on here, ladies and gentlemen. So if you're interested in learning astrology and how the tarot cards come into play and mathematics, this will be for you. I'm going to show you how Roger Bannister was being used and how this was all a big setup. Not saying he didn't do it because he ran it. He was exhausted. He probably, was dying at the end. So he used the vessel, but the spirit inside of him, that was what was running everything. And he said he could do it, and he did it. And ladies and gentlemen, I have the card of the magician here. I had this drawn up, and I had it as a runner. The magician. And the magician always has the sun there, calling for the sun. But he, at this day race, was pivoting on a 1 day, numerology-wise, a 1 day. And 1 is also tied to the rising, which is the sun, but it's the magician. So him being a wizard, what was he being a wizard of? The energy of Aries. And if you go if you go into the Vedic, it would be the sign of Pisces. Pisces becomes the first sign because the spring equinox is in Pisces, not in Aries. If you go tropical, it's going to be different, but that's for a different story. But let's just stick to this and let's take a look at all these markers for this guy. Now, you notice he has the number 41 on his chest. Now, 41 is a very big number. In Hebrew, the word Elohim is 41. 41 through mathematics is the 13th prime number. And one of the words for the sun is soul. The soul is where you get your spirit from. The spirit in the sky. Your soul. Okay? The life path in numerology is tied to your soul, your spirit. 13 in the tarot is the death card. That's because the sun represents death. The word death equals 19. 19 is the sun card. Why is that? Because the sun is constantly outdoing. Because it takes all the energies of whatever zodiac sign it's in with whatever celestials are there, and it harnesses that energy in earth and the soul below. That's how you're able to interpret these charts that are magnificent. So, it was a 1 day, and it was tied to the sun in Krypton. Well, the sun was in Aries. So in the tropical here, through the seasons, the sun was in Aries. And we also have conjunct sitting right next to it, its best buddy, Mercury. And Mercury is the planet of commerce. It's the planet of travel, movement, and it's also the way you think. He was in neuroscience, the way you think. Knowing that he could do it, knowing that he could break the 4-minute marker, for the mile. Okay? Now, ladies and gentlemen, he beat the record, which was through time. Right? He had to go under 4 minutes. Now we have to look at Saturn, Kronos, because he beat the time. And what you're going to notice here is in Capricorn is the wound of Chiron. Now, this wound of Chiron in this placement here is the wound of the world in a way. And the wound in addressing what this means is the wound was you can't run a mile in under 4 minutes. That was a belief which can be a wound. Chiron and your wound has a lot to do with trauma and what you believe to be true. And when you start to remove, you start to heal. Well, what he did was he broke the record that was standing in time. He had to go under 4 minutes, which was a measurement of time. And this is the chart for May 6th, 1954. And just 3 zodiac signs down, there is Kronos. Now, Kronos being down here in Libra is very interesting. Because remember, Libra is the scales of justice. Now, if the scales are bending one way, it's out of balance. And vice versa. It wants to be balanced. But Saturn coming in here, Kronos, of course, having a lot to do with balance. Changing the balance because Kronos is the timekeeper. So he's changed the time in under 4 minutes with running this race. And Kronos has so much to do with this right here. It's literally when things are released. When Kronos comes into Libra, it's when structures or things that have been set up, projects that have been set up, they get to be released from excessive restraints. So the restraint in this set of circumstances was you can't run a mile in under 4 minutes. Well, Kronos being here said otherwise. And Kronos, of course, being the ruler of Capricorn, and there is the Chiron wound, and Chiron was the removal of that wound by Roger Bannister, removing it. Across the way from this wound was another big marker because it was in the sign of Gemini. Now, Gemini has a lot to do with this because Gemini is ruled by Mercury. And Mercury, remember, he passed 88. Mercury has an orbital period of 88. Mercury is the ruler of Gemini. And you had a big say here you had Sirius at 20 degrees. Are you serious? Right across the way. Here. Okay. And these energies with Jupiter here are also big markers because Jupiter Zeus, the largest planet in the canopy, is designed to expand. So in this circumstance, Jupiter's job was to expand, running a mile in under 4 minutes. Jupiter expanding the presence of Mercury. Mercury in Aries. Aries is the magician card. The magician card is right here. And it's sitting right next to the sun, the soul. The soul. He was a king of clubs. March 23rd, 1929 is his birthday. King of clubs. It was on May 6th, the king of diamonds. There was a pocket kings on that day, remembering that it was a leadership day. It was a one day. And a lot of the one aspect is right here on race day. Okay. There's also an aspect of Bharani in this Nakshatra, which is ruled by Yama, which is Pluto. His Pluto's down here in Cancer. It's the way you feel about things. And you also have the moon here on the way you feel about things. This is why it's called the honeymoon. You think about running this race. How do you think he felt when he found out he broke the record? How would you feel? You'd be so overwhelmed with emotions. And you'd start to give feedback to whatever's running this reality, which is this. Okay, the emotions, the beautiful emotions. All of this energy here with Ketu, been there, done that, moving through the liberation of Rahu. Rahu being in the 20th Nakshatra along with Mars. What is 20? Purva Ashada. But what more is the 20? Graduation. This is the card of judgment. The judgment card, I've revised it. I believe it means graduation. And I wanted to have it where people are running. Graduation, 20. Stepping up. Graduating. Well, he graduated the entire league of runners because he set a marker for everybody to now shoot from. And then, of course, there's been over 1,600 people since then that have done it. The Mars energy for this day was in graduation. Mars being the ruler of Aries. So we just tie the Mars to right here. And you got Mercury, the runner here, and the sun here, the spirit, tied to the house of Sagittarius, where Mars and Rahu are, in the 20th Nakshatra, which is tied to graduation. So Roger Bannister graduated the entire league of runners by setting this milestone. And he was using a lot of this magician energy here, considering that it was a one day. It was a one day, and the magician is the very first card. And, because this is why Aries is ruled by Mars. Mars is the god of war. Well, in this case, he's not going to war per se, but he's going to war for the time. To beat the time, you got to go to war. The drive. And of course, running is a lot of testosterone. That's Mars. Rahu, the ultimate desire. I want to do it. I want to do it. I'm going to beat it. I'm going to beat it. I'm going to beat it. I want to do it. I want to do it. And this is a lot of mental because Sagittarius is tied to the Hermit card, which is a lot of mental. And he was in neuroscience. You realize that in order to do this, the mind has to be in the right state of mind. And this is all Hermit energy and the Mars energy to drive, saying, you can do it, you can do it. Of course, he had a card. His birth card is the King of Clubs, which is mental mastery. So it was very fitting for him to be in this position, to expand through Mercury with Zeus, to feel good about it with the moon, and to have Mercury and the sun together in Aries, which is the magician. And in this case, his magic was running the mile in under 4 minutes, breaking the time barrier, removing the wound of Chiron, and doing it to balance out what the world's saying you can't do it. Well, I just did it. And that's what he was able to do through these markers. Now, Ladies and gentlemen, I also want to let you know here that there's also another placement here with the world card. See, when you take the world card and you tie it to Utada Ashada, which means the undefeated one, it's got the big 21 right on it, and Chiron's right there. What did he do? He beat the world record. He removed the world record, and he beat it and created a new one by way of this being a one day. Creating a record, being a leader by setting a world, removing the Chiron record of graduation through the desire and the drive of Mars. When Mars gets together with Rahu, it's an explosion of, I'm going to do this. And of course, it was in Sagittarius, which is ruled by Jupiter, and Jupiter was in Gemini, and Gemini is ruled by Mercury, and Mercury is Quicksilver. See how beautiful this is? Now again, I'm not taking anything away from his physical ability. I'm not poo-pooing on it, belittling that. I mean, it must have been gruesome and grueling. I've never done that. So I'm not taking anything away from training and what athletes do to go through that. But what I am saying is he didn't have a choice. He ran it because he was supposed to run it. And it was a lot based on the astrological positions, the cards, the tarot, mathematics. It's all part of your screenplay as a human being. You know, scripted reality number 20. This is all about the graduation. That's what 20 means. Graduation. You're graduating from the refinement. This is the Hermit, the refinement. Zeus, expansion of refining yourself. Okay? The expansion of refining yourself. So this is what it looked like for Roger Bannister when he was born. And I want to show you a little bit about how his code is. That was race day. This is race day. But what about how he was coded March 23rd, 1929, born in the Great Depression years? What an upbringing he must have had. March 23rd, 1929. 23 is called the Royal Star of the Lion. But you can see how crazy scripted his life is. He was a Roger Gilbert Bannister, 67. That's the 19th prime number. The 19th card in the tarot is the sun. Okay. 41 is the jersey number he wore to break the record. 41 is the 13th prime number. 6 plus 7 is 13. And the word soul is the sun. Okay. There's many ways to look at this. You just connect all the dots and then it's pretty clear. Clear and convincing support. His first name is a 19, which matches the sun card. His middle name is graduation. All these layers I look at. And his last name, when you reduce it down, is leadership. 2 plus 8 is 1. So he's got a 1 leadership last name. Okay? That's how I look at all this stuff as a decoder. Now I got the winged shoes here because he was a runner. And you can see here, when he came out in 1929 on March 23rd, the sun was in Pisces. Now, I want to be very straight on this, ladies and gentlemen. He was born on the spring equinox, springtime. The official day of spring equinox is around the 21st of March. That's the most common. Now, most people would say, when is springtime? Aries. Well, not according to the Vedic sidereal chart. The sun is in Pisces. Now, maybe thousands of years ago, the sun was in Aries, but not anymore. During the month of March, during the spring equinox, the sun is in Pisces. And during the fall, it will be in Virgo, not Libra. Okay? That's how this looks on the map. Now, what's interesting about his sun position is that he has heaven next to him. He has Uranus next to him. And Uranus is a planet of no limitations. And Uranus is air. It's electrical air. He's running. And it was so interesting. You study the story of this. Roger Bannister, when you go study this and when he ran this whole thing, it says that when he ran the race, it was windy that day. And he didn't want to run it. Okay? He didn't want to run this race. But it died down at the last minute, and he went ahead and ran the race. So Uranus, expansion, no limits, no rules. Don't tell me I can't run the mile in under 4 minutes, coupled with the spirit. And it's in the sign of Pisces. Now, what is Pisces on the physical body? The feet. The 2 fish represent your 2 feet. He was a runner in this case, breaking and shattering the record and setting the marker and being the leader. And just months later, people were doing it. Okay, that's the big marker for this guy. You see his Kronos is in Sagittarius. I come back up here. His Rahu and Mars is in Sagittarius during the day of the race, which was all about graduation. So breaking the time barrier, Kronos' time. Okay, he did it in Oxford. His Rahu is in Taurus, the bull. He did it in Oxford, England, the ox. All these layers you look at and you see how scripted our reality is. And it's a fun way to look at this reality. During the time of his birth, he had Mars and Pluto in the sign of Gemini, Gemini being ruled by Mercury. Mercury, the planet of commerce and communication. It was windy that day. Aquarius is an air sign. There's the Mercury right there. So many ways to look at this, ladies and gentlemen. And then, of course, here in his sign of Aries, which is a Mars-ruled energy. Remember, his Mars is in Gemini, which is a mercurial. Mercury is the way you think. I think I can break this record. Pisces is the feet to run the race. And Aries is the determination to do it, to finish the race. The testosterone. Aries ruled by Mars. Well, he has the wound of Chiron here. So clearly it was set up for him in his code to become a leader in something, to break the curse, if you will. I'm not saying it was a curse, but he was designed to break the record. Chiron was standing in the way and he pushed it out of the way for the world to see. Okay? For the world to see. And there's the mighty Zeus. So you see that all these celestials, they're all part of the process. They're all working as a team, as a unit, and they're working as a team and a unit for your particular life. And you got to know how it operates. And then you have more pleasurable ways of seeing your life, realizing that it's a big setup. And again, I don't take anything away from his training, what he did to accomplish this, but it was destined for him to be that person to break the record and remove it. So other people can say, well, Roger did it, I'm going to do it. Roger did it, I'm going to do it. You know, remember, Pisces, ladies and gentlemen, is what it means to be a human being. It's a water sign. We're made up of primarily water. You know, Pisces is the 2 fish. It represents your 2 feet. It's the yin yang. It's what it means to be a human being. He's got his sun and Uranus in the 26th nakshatra. You go to alchemy, that's the element iron. Iron is in our blood. Our blood is in the water in our body is made up of blood. It's all here, folks. When you take alchemy and astrology and the cards and dates and calendar dates and numerology, you can start to see that we all live inside of a scripted reality that's predestined. It's already been written, and we just have to live through it and enjoy it. But one of the enjoyments now, because we're moved into the age of Aquarius, or so it seems, it's all about I know thyself. And what is the advantage of knowing yourself? It's being able to remove fear blockages and trauma, and you can see what you're born and destined to become. And that is allowing you to really create from it. And and so is that scripted? Yes. If you're somebody who wants to learn how your code is all about, well, then move towards that. Myself, so many other people, join the Patreon. I got videos on there you're not going to find on the YouTube. I do readings. There's other people that do readings. Find somebody that you resonate with. Start to look at your chart. Figure out, what do you look like? What does your blueprint look like? What are you destined to be? Some of you are destined to break records. Some of you are destined to save the world. Some of you are destined to do something big on the world stage that no one's ever done before. And once you have the eyes to see that, it becomes easier on your life, because then you can sit back and you can realize that everything's in place because it's supposed to be in place. Okay? So ladies and gentlemen, that was my analysis. Roger Bannister. This is scripted reality number 20. And that's all I got for today. My name is Logan for Decode Your Reality. Until next time, we will see you later.